ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. No bail for Ryan Ruth, the suspect in the second assassination attempt of former President Trump, will remain behind bars after new evidence was presented at a hearing today.
A letter in a box said to have been dropped off at a witness's house several months ago reads, "Dear world, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you." It's the strongest evidence yet of a motive.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. The Pentagon sending more U.S. troops to the Middle East as Israel continues to strike Hezbollah targets. Recently in Lebanon, at least 350 people were killed. More than 1,000 have been injured. President Biden will address the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow. Students return to Appalachia High in Georgia today for the first time since a deadly shooting earlier this month. Stocks rose to start the week. The Dow and the S&P closing at all-time highs. This is ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Meet Brian. He just got $5,000, and it was pretty easy. I'll tell you how in 10 seconds. Brian needed cash help. After being rejected by banks, he tried 27cash.com. Told them how much he needed, even let them know he had bad credit. In minutes, 27cash.com found a lender who deposited $5,000 into his bank account the very next day. If you need cash help, even if you have bad credit, go to 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We need cash help.
We should go to 57cash.com.
With our bad credit?
57cash.com helps all credit types. They partner with over 100 lenders to help even people with bad credit get approved for up to $10,000. And cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
Wow. When you need cash help, go to 57cash.com. 57cash.com.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Attention business owners. WNSR has some exciting opportunities for your business to thrive in the dynamic world of sports radio advertising. As the proud home of some of your favorite sports teams like the Atlanta Braves, Memphis Grizzlies, and more, we understand the power of sports in bringing people together and creating a passionate community. We believe that your business can become an integral part of this experience, reaching a diverse and engaged audience. Contact the WNSR sales team for an opportunity to discuss how Nashville Sports Radio can elevate your brand to new heights. Whether you're interested in a specific sponsorship package or would like a customized solution, we are here to meet your advertising needs. Call 615-844-1039. 615-844-1039. Or email saleswnsr@gmail.com. That's saleswnsr@gmail.com.
Here we go! From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex, this is the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with Young Gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is, for now, a beautiful Monday in Nashville. Things may change later in the week with what is now a tropical storm, but apparently might shift gears into a hurricane. But we've learned to just hold the fort on all of that. Let's go to Murfreesboro right off the bat and say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
Great, George. How you doing?
Good weekend?
It was a good weekend. Yeah, my son was home. They had a week off, so we got to hang out. It was good. Everything was swell.
I know you got to go to Kermit Davis's Hall of Fame ceremony at Middle. I was thrilled at the selection. Happy for him. Congrats, Kermit.
Yeah, one of my good friends that played football before me, but I know him well. He was a quarterback. He got inducted, and so did Coach Davis. So Kermit was good. I got to meet, as I told you the other night, I got to meet Tim Floyd, which was good. And then I think his name was John Brady. Is he the one that coached at LSU. Yeah, he was there.
Yep.
So I talked to those guys for about 15 or 20 minutes. That was really cool.
Excellent. I'm thrilled to hear it. Talked to Chip Walters today, and I know it went well. Let's check in with Billy. Billy, congratulations. Big win for Notre Dame over Miami of Ohio.
Miami of Ohio. Yep. Hey, that's not a game. Miami of Ohio was another MAC team. I don't think they wanted to play another MAC team, but they ended up getting the win.
It appears they did want to play another MAC team.
Well, they
Really
got
stop.
the win, but
They scheduled those because they were easy wins, but it didn't happen in one of them.
Hey, once you go MAC, you never go back.
Wow.
But
you let me deliver the lines.
But the more important Irish win was Friday night. Father Ryan knocks off NBA for the first time in 27 years, and my brother was the one that did it. So it was pretty special.
Yeah, how did he play?
He was 25 of 34 for 351 yards.
Good for him.
He had the game of his life. It was pretty cool. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
So
what's
is he a
that
baller,
like?
Billy? Billy, is he a baller?
He didn't play great against BA a couple weeks ago, but I mean, you probably had these type of nights. He just played the game of his life. Everything was working. He was slinging it. I mean, it was pretty special. And our grandfather coached the 1997 team, the last team to beat NBA. So it was a fun night, and I think people are still riding high because that rivalry is one of the best in the state. It's pretty deep, so that was really cool.
A year ago, it looked like Father Ryan was going to win, and when it didn't happen, it was incredibly bitter. You and I were both there.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations. Good stuff.
Thank you. It was cool.
Okay, let's check in now with Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, for our daily Titans update. Terry, of course, living in and sitting at his palatial mansion right now in Westmoreland. Terry, how are you?
I'm good. Probably better off than the Titans are right now.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. What was the injury situation besides Awuzie?
Well, he was really the main one, and they're going to put him on injured reserve, and that's going to mean Trey Avery getting promoted back to the 53-man roster, and probably some starting time for Jarvis Brownlee, the rookie fifth-round pick out of Louisville. So the other injury was that Jeffrey Simmons is day-to-day with an elbow injury.
Terry, where is this headed? I think a lot of people have kind of thrown up their hands and said, I thought they were better than this. Early, it was Levis and some stupid decision-making. It was special teams in the punting game that was a disaster. Now it's the offensive line springing huge leaks. Where's this going?
I think there's a lot to fix, George. And I think, they say the bye week never comes at a bad time. The bye week's probably coming at a pretty good time for them to kind of reassess and reevaluate some things and kind of figure out where they are after next Monday night in Miami. I think with this team right now, there's, there are some good things, but they're certainly being overshadowed by all the bad things that are going on. And you certainly kind of rake the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, when you let a quarterback that you had no use for come in and just shred you like Malik Willis did yesterday. It makes you wonder, why the Titans couldn't get that type of play out of him, how he was constantly, indecisive and, struggling to make the right reads and make them on time. And yesterday he looked like a completely different player under Matt LaFleur after only 3 weeks and looked like Lamar Jackson running around out there as a dual threat quarterback.
Is this, in your opinion, simply LaFleur better than the Vrabel coaching staff? Because Brian Callahan only had him for a limited amount of time.
Yeah, in fairness to Brian Callahan, his staff had Malik playing much better throughout this off-season and preseason and fall camp. I do think it's kind of an indictment of the Vrabel staff that they couldn't find a better way to use Malik Willis. I think now some of that, I can't put everything on them. Some of that, I think, was the fact that Malik Willis is a little more mature player now. He kind of understands what it takes to survive in the NFL, maybe better than he did in his first year or two when he was really in over his head and kind of just thrown to the wolves. To me, kudos to Malik Willis for getting the most out of his ability, but I was very, very, I'd say, disappointed in the way the Titans defense didn't handle business yesterday against a guy that they know better than anybody else in the league.
What level of oomph, whatever oomph is, do you think they brought to the table yesterday?
In terms of?
Well, it seemed like once the interception got returned for the touchdown, to me, they packed it in.
Yeah, it sort of seemed like the air went out of the balloon. And here's something too, George, I hate even going there, but it might be good if Kelly chimed in on this too once I'm finished. But I still think they are trying to figure out and fix the culture here that's deteriorated with all the losses over the last couple of years. And I think sometimes you may have to wind up weeding out a few people, even if they're better players than some of the ones that are behind them or whatever, or maybe, that you bring in. I think, you got guys who just, it appears like for whatever reason, they're not going to get it. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer was a good example yesterday, just, missing a block there, and he's talked about how he needs to be more of a dog and needs to fight more. It's like, well, why aren't you doing it? And same thing with Traylon Burks. He talks a good game every time you ask him about playing football and enjoying it and having fun and making plays. But then when the plays are there to be made, they're not made. And so I think this is a situation where there's still guys here that, have kind of fallen into a rut. And I don't know if you can get it out of them or not.
I tell you what we'll do, because you're on to something that I was going to get with Kelly about. So Kelly, hold on to it. Okay. Terry, good luck to your team. Y'all are in, and who knows about mine.
It looks like it may come down to what you do against the Mets, huh?
Well, there's no doubt it does. And given the weather possibilities, it might not be Tuesday through Thursday.
Interesting.
Yeah, think about that. Spend your whole life thinking about it.
I will, George. Thanks. Until
Talk
tomorrow.
to you, Terry. Until tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, let's get to the update. Billy, I would assume that there is meat on the bone.
There's a lot of meat on the bone. It's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. All right, like we always do on Monday, we're going to kick it off with some of the AP poll changes. Texas still at number 1 overall in the country, followed by Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama. Tennessee moves up to number 5 after their big win over Oklahoma. The SEC has 9 teams in the AP top 25. So that's no surprise to anyone. So it's the latest with the AP poll. Alabama, speaking of their heavyweight tilt against Georgia this week, they are 2-point underdogs at home for the first time since 2007. Being an underdog at home, that was a game against LSU. We'll see how the line moves this week, George, but that's one of the more noteworthy pieces, that Alabama is an underdog going into that game against Georgia.
Yeah, means absolutely nothing.
Right. You're probably right.
For now.
Some of the other SEC lines, Tennessee and Vandy are both off, but Ole Miss is a 17.5-point favorite over Kentucky. Oklahoma only 2.5 over Auburn on the road. Those two teams are reeling. And then Texas A&M favored by 3.5 against Arkansas in Jerry's World. Also in week 6, not this weekend, but in a couple of weeks, it was announced Tennessee at Arkansas will be either 7 p.m. Eastern time or 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and that'll either be on ABC or ESPN. Vanderbilt and Alabama, 3:15 local time on the SEC network in a couple of weeks with the Crimson Tide coming in. Also, some other college news. Steve Sarkisian says Quinn Ewers' status for the Mississippi State game this weekend is in doubt, but he said if he had to put a report out, he'd be questionable for Saturday. So don't think they'll need to.
He could play me in that game and they'd win.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
No.
That's questionable right there at best.
I knew that would get a rise out of you.
I don't think they'll be needing Quinn Ewers in that one. So we could see another week of Arch Manning. Also, tough news for LSU. Harold Perkins is expected to miss the remainder of the season after suffering a knee injury against UCLA. But there is some speculation this will allow him to come back next year with an injury redshirt. So we'll see about that for LSU. And I want to hit on this. North Carolina lost over the weekend 70-50 at home to James Madison. Mac Brown reportedly told players he would walk away and step down if he was the problem after the game. But he later told reporters he was disappointed in himself, both for the Tar Heels' performance on Saturday and how he handled it. But sources close to the program say that he will remain the coach through the rest of the 2024 season. And George, I would assume they reassess it at that point.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's been a lot more good in Mac Brown going back there than not good, and everybody needs to remember that. Of course, it's easy to say given my relationship with Watson, but Mac Brown's done a lot more good at Carolina than bad.
We got some other news. Memphis, Tulane, and USF are expected to announce a commitment to the AAC after talks with the Pac-12. Schools determined they will remain in the AAC. I'm not joining the Pac-12 either. Just want to get that out there.
Well, I've always thought Memphis makes a lot of sense in the Pac-12. God, are you kidding me?
What kind of sense is that, George?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, what kind of geography are we doing?
I hear they're going after North Dakota State and South Dakota State too. I think they're going in for sure.
Oh, I think they probably are. They're trying like the devil to find enough teams to create a real conference. But Memphis, of course, as soon as I say that, then I'm like Stanford in the ACC, Cal in the ACC.
Nothing makes sense anymore.
Why am I to even question this?
Right.
Move on.
Gonzaga is the next team they're looking at, I think, for the Pac-12. So get them.
They're going to play football.
Yeah, they don't play football though, do they?
No, they don't.
Wow.
But that's the talk around the country. We do have a couple games tonight: Jaguars and Bills at 6:30, and then Commanders and Bengals at 7:15. A note on that Bengals game: Joe Burrow facing off with Jaden Daniels. First time in NFL history, 2 Heisman winners from the same school will face off on Monday Night Football. So
Is that it?
We do have an injury note in Miami. Skylar Thompson left the third quarter of that game against the Seahawks with a rib injury. The third string Tim Boyle entered the game for him. They still have Tyler Huntley, but gosh, I don't know what they do at this point at quarterback. And Tannehill's still.
You pick up the phone, you call the Pittsburgh Steelers and say, "What are you doing with Russell Wilson?" That's what you do.
That's a possibility, and the other is Ryan Tannehill.
I feel like that ship has sailed.
Well, you may be right. Yeah. Okay. After the break, join us for a ride on the Hindenburg. The Titans are the only team in the league that hasn't won a regular season game. Stick around. You're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Okay, it's time to get into all this Titans mess. Kelly, let's start with this. Terry brought it up. I learned the lesson years ago as a young sideline announcer doing Vanderbilt games in the mid-'80s when we would get into a close game in the fourth quarter, in particular against SEC teams, that everybody'd kind of be looking around going, what do we do? We're not used to this. And I have felt for a while that this is starting to become a problem with the Titans. Not only at 0-3 are they not very good, but they don't know how to win.
Yeah, that becomes a habit, George. We've talked about it over and over on this show, but it does become a habit. When I was in Cleveland, until you fix that, and Terry's right, until you fix that, you get into a game, you're winning a game, and then when something happens and the other team makes a big play, then everybody starts looking around saying, oh boy. It's the same thing that happened at Vanderbilt the other day, and I know we're going to talk about that at some point, but when you get that mindset and that mentality, it is hard to overcome. And I think the other day, Billy said they've only won 4 out of the last 15 games, and now it's 4 out of the last, 17 games or 18 games?
21 of 27 of their last 27.
Really?
That's not good.
Yeah, that is not good. So it does, George, even at the professional level. Like, the Titans have been winners before, but then you get this deal where you get into this rut where you just think that whatever we do, we're going to lose the game or something's going to happen. And then you look at what Kansas City does, and Kansas City has got their quarterback. They've got they've won 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls, 2 in a row. They're going for their 3rd. When it comes down to crunch time, on the sidelines, totally different than what you see at the Titans. They're thinking in Kansas City, well, who's going to be the guy to step up and make a play, because we're not going to lose this game. Somebody's going to do it, and it's a mentality. And sometimes it's tough to get through that, George. You have to get guys, and Terry's right. Sometimes there's guys on the team that have been left over and kept from the old regime, and they have that deep within them. Well, you got the Jamal Adams of the world and the Ernest Jones of the world that come from different teams. That Ernest Jones been on a Super Bowl team at L.A., so you've got to get that mindset going, and sometimes that's tough to overcome, George.
By the way, I thought it happened last night. I thought Atlanta cratered the minute the Chiefs started to show it in the third quarter, And you just never really felt like Atlanta was going to win that game. But screw Atlanta. We got our own problems. What we're going to get into ultimately is a lot of discussion of offensive line. And Billy, if you will, run through that graphic because it is very graphic. For all of the complaining that all of us, me at the top of the list, have done about Will Levis's stupid decisions, he also has run into way worse offensive line problems than anybody thought he'd deal with. Kelly, what do you think's going on there?
They don't have a right tackle. The tackles, that's why when you're a right-handed quarterback, the left tackles, other than the quarterback, the left tackles get paid the most money because you're blocking the blind side. But then you go to the other side. You can kind of hide guards every now and then. You got to have a really good center who's smart and can control the situation and can, tell you who the mic is and change directions on protections and things like that. But if you don't have a tackle, it made me think the other day, George, when I was thinking about this, because I knew we were going to be talking about it today. But it's amazing how, and I've talked about it all the time on this show, where when you have a fire, if you don't piss out that fire, they're going to keep coming. And right now, the Titans don't have an answer for that fire. Green Bay's got some really good pass rushers. Preston Smith, the other guy, 56, I forget his name, but there's some really good pass rushers. They got a pretty good defense now. It used to be Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, it was the offense, and the defense was just kind of a side note. Well, now their defense is pretty good. And they came in here the other day, and they just totally abused the Petit Frere guy. I was quite shocked because I thought that he was a really good player. And I'm not saying that he can't get better, and I'm not saying that. He did not play good yesterday. He looked like a fish out of water. I think the Dylan Radins guy, I don't know if he's manageable, but it's just, it's not good. And when you have a situation like that, George, like I love what Green Bay did with Malik Willis yesterday. They didn't put everything on him. They got the ball out of his hands. See, you see right there, and the people that are listening on radio, like when you make a move upfield and then you undercut the right tackle, that's not good football right there. It really isn't. Then they put the backup in and he gets gone around. I don't think Will Levis is helping himself either. I think that that's just a jailbreak screen right there. I know the people on the radio can't see it, but when you've got multiple guys hitting you at the same time, that's not good, and that's not what you can have. Now, when they're bringing guys, you have to be aware of that. They might be picked up, but as a quarterback, your internal clock has to start kicking off and saying, hey, even though I'm supposed to have that guy picked up by a back or we're supposed to change the protection, you know that they're bringing guys, and your internal clock's got to go off, and I got to start moving a little quicker. When everything's good and they're just bringing 4, we're good. One guy might get beat, but we're good. But his internal clock has got to start ticking a little bit faster. The coaches have got to help him by calling some plays to get the ball out of his hand, maybe on some first downs, second downs, getting the ball out of his hand. When you get into a 3rd and long, sometimes it forces you to hold the ball a little longer. But he's definitely not helping himself sometimes with holding the ball, and he understands the situation that he's got with the offensive line, and that the whole organization has to do a better job with that.
Okay, let me start with this. We've all had this suspicion that there was still a problem that had not totally been fixed. However, the easy answer has been to say that Brian's dad, Bill Callahan, who's one of the great offensive line coaches going, could fix it. If it hadn't gotten fixed by now, Kelly, is it fixable by Bill Callahan?
I don't know that question, George. That's a good question. Sometimes you heard the old expression, you can't make chicken salad out of. We all know the cliche. So if you don't have the right pieces there, it's hard to fix it. Like every coach, like there's some really good coaches in the NFL. There's some really bad coaches as well, but he's not one of those guys. He's been around the O-line for a long time. He knows what makes guys good. He's going to work them, but sometimes there's just nothing you can do. Sometimes guys are just not good enough and can't play at that level, and that may have run what he's run into right now. He just can't play at the level, at a high level that they need. But until they fix that problem with backing a tight end off and kind of helping him kind of chip and then go out into a route, but that takes guys away from the pass route. You don't want that. You want to try to get 5 guys out if you can. If you can't, then that kind of slows things down. But Tom Moore was always about that. If you were getting pressure on us from somewhere, we're going to start leaving 2 backs in. We're going to start chipping with the tight end. He's not going to let the quarterback get hit. And you don't want to do that as a coach, but sometimes it's necessary to keep your quarterback up and keeping him from getting injured.
So how angry should a Titans fan be that 4 weeks after getting out of this campus, Malik Willis looks like a winning NFL quarterback? Here is a great throw that he makes to Christian Watson very early in the game with it scoreless. Kelly, help me to understand that, because Titans fans are confused as to how a guy that looked as inept as he did here can look this good now.
That's a good question, George. It really is. They didn't ask him to do anything, and you got people have to understand. I know the Titans fans are upset right now, but you have to understand that this Matt LaFleur's been there for a little bit. He's been there for a couple of years. That not every guy gets to start out with a Hall of Fame quarterback as he did with Aaron Rodgers, and he's got his system in place. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers had a lot to do with that system, but now he's kind of, he's got that system going, and he's been there for a while. Guys know what to expect, and then they plug in another guy, and I'm sure Matt LaFleur just told him, hey, look, we're not asking you to win a game. We're just asking you not to lose the game. My college coach used to tell me that all the time. He was like, son, you can't win a game all by yourself, but you can lose one by your lonesome. And he's absolutely right. A quarterback can. So they're asking Malik Willis to take one read or maybe a second read and then take off and use his athletic ability and run. But yesterday, I mean, he made some really good passes in the first half, and that was the thing that's so discouraging about the defense was I don't think they played great yesterday, but I think a lot of it is starting to creep in their head where we've got to be perfect for us to win a game, and you just can't play like that. And I think yesterday they called a great game for him. I think he made some huge third down plays in the first half. Second half adjustments, he didn't play as great, but at that time, I don't know if the game was in hand, but it felt like it was in hand. That's what it felt like to me. And I'm sure when, I know you weren't there, but you were there in one of them. But I'm sure that when Will Levis threw that interception for a touchdown, the whole bubble out of the whole stadium just went silent, and they're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. And I text y'all. It goes back to the Jim Moore sheet that I talk about all the time. When you get a non-offensive touchdown, it's hard to win an NFL game, and that's what happened yesterday. And in the first game, they got 2 non-offensive touchdowns. That's just not going to happen. But right there, he got goosed into throwing that play. That guy was sitting there when he's looking at you, and he's got a guy over the top of him, which he didn't have a guy over the top of him. I can't see the other side, but when you got a guy looking in like that, I was always weary of that. And hitch routes are great in high school. You can run hitch routes in the pros, but if you're late on a hitch route, that's going to get taken back. Exactly what happened to Will Levis. And I even think it's easier for a DB to read when you're in the gun. When you're in the gun, you catch and throw. When you're under center, sometimes that gets messed up because a DB can't see you, and if you take 3 steps or 5 steps, he don't know the drop because he can't see from the offensive line and the defensive line going at it. So it's easier sometimes to complete those balls, but when you're in a gun and he can see you, those guys sit it hours on hours on hours with their defensive coaches and then by themselves looking at tendencies, and I promise you, they saw what Will Levis does on quick game stuff in the gun, and he read that. He wasn't even looking at the receiver. He was looking at Will Levis, and when Will Levis's feet stopped, he came forward. And that's one of those tendencies you have to break as a quarterback. But that's the bad thing of being in the gun. You get more time, but sometimes they pick up on your footwork, and that's what happened on that play.
So they go down 10, and while I am not going to sit here and tell you they quit by any stretch, you did. I thought your description of it was dead on. Somebody popped the balloon, and there was no air left.
That happens, George. I promise you. I've been on teams like that. That happens when I've made mistakes like that, and guys are like, what are we doing here? So it happens at every ball club. He's made some bad decisions in the first 2 games. Yesterday, he can't turn the ball over. And I know on that long throw, when you're throwing the ball deep like that, and you got these safeties, that's why they have these combine stuff. That's why all these scouts and that's why all these coaches go watch these guys. They want guys that can be in the middle of the field like an Ed Reed. I got Ed Reed paid so many times. I got Ty Law paid so many times. They can come from the middle of the field, and they can, both sides, they can cover it. And when you throw the ball up way in the air like that and you don't look a guy off, if you don't look a guy off, these pro guys are smart enough to understand that, and you put air on the ball, you just can't do that. And he's learning. Now, George, I do want to say this. We can't give up on it now. They're 0-3. When you're 0-3, even when you start 0-2, your percentages of making the playoffs are not very good. But you can't give up on it now. It's a new system. It's new coaches. Everybody's getting used to each other. Free agents. Jamal Adams played yesterday. He's been injured. There's guys that have been in there that are new. That happens all the time, George. It really does. But you've got a new quarterback. They're still trying to figure out what he can do. They've had 3 games so far. They kind of think they know, but they're not sure. And now, if it's me, I just wish, because Brian Callahan came from the Cincinnati Bengals, and you watch Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow's different. He's been to an AFC Championship game. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's won a lot of games so far at Cincinnati. He's heady. He understands that. He doesn't turn the ball over. But they used to get rid of the ball for him. Like his first 2 years, when he went to the Super Bowl, their offensive line sucked. But he was able to get rid of the football because they called that for him, and he knew where he was going with the ball. And I told you that this morning when we were on the phone. I'm 51 now, but when I started getting older in my career, I could tell you with the formation and the scheme of the play where I was going with what the defense was giving me. Now, sometimes you get messed up. Sometimes they'll rotate coverage on you and all that, but by and large, I knew probably 98% of the time where I was going. So if I'm good with protection, I can look the other way. If I'm throwing to the left, I can look to the right, and I can throw to the left. You've got to get into that. And he's a young quarterback. He's got learning to do. He's not looked good so far, but there's a lot of other issues other than him right now. Now, the first 2 games, yeah, he made some mistakes, but you can't give up on it yet. You got to stay with the system. You got to stay with it. And then, we're talking 8 or 9 games into this, and he's still making the same mistakes. Then we got to say, hey, I don't know. I don't know if we've made the right decision, but right now it's still too early.
Okay, stop there. We'll come back, and we'll do what everybody else is doing. We'll psychoanalyze Will Levis and a few other things. Stick around. This is the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you need to contact Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you are a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. Check them out today at pancoastbenefits.com or call 615-292-3400.
Okay, we are back and obviously doing what a lot of you were doing around the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area, and that is bemoaning where the Titans are. At the moment, they are the only NFL team without a win. Kelly, to pick up on something you brought up earlier about, we're just 3 games in, Will's just 3 games in. It's really not true. I mean, he played the second half of last year. Shouldn't he be better at this point than this?
Takes a while, George. To be a quarterback, it takes a while. I heard a guy tell me one time, guys really don't understand the game till you get late 20s or early 30s, in your 30s, and he may be right. I've thought about that over my years. After that, you get mature, you understand stuff, and it's stuff like clicks in your brain. You say, "Oh, that's what he was talking about. I get it now." But you've got to go out there and you've got to experience stuff. And you're right, he did play last year, but the onus was not on him. Ryan Tannehill was a starter, and then he came in. Now, we thought that he was going to take over at some point, which he did, and they thought he was going to be the guy, which has happened. But he still wasn't the starter. Ryan Tannehill got hurt, and he got to come in with a new leash on life, and he got to just go out and play. And I heard somebody say he kind of played free last year, and they don't feel like he's playing free. I don't know if that's the case, but I promise you this, George, it's a lot different when it's on you, when you're the guy, they say to be the franchise quarterback, they're calling you that, you're the number one guy, then it's like, oh boy, I mean, I am the guy. So last year he was the guy that got drafted. He really wasn't the starter, but he was able to come in and show what he could do. But this year they've put players around him. Now they still got some work to do up front with the offensive line. They've got Tony Pollard, they got Tyjae Spears, they've got some pretty good tight ends. The receiving core is really good. It's an upgrade from what they've had. So the onus was on him, but a lot of stuff goes into this, George. I can remember Tom Moore talking to me and talking to everybody in meetings. One pass play depends on the offensive line knowing what they're doing. If a back's got to check and get out, he's got to know what he's doing. If there's a guy that can't be blocked and we got a hot route, say a tight end's got to cut it off to a stick route or something like that, he has to know what's happening. The receivers have to get their depth. They've got to be on point. It's got to be in rhythm. They can't, like if somebody gets in their face, they've got to know what to adjust. If it's a hitch, if it's a quick out and they're pressed man to man, it turns to a fade. They've got to know all that. There's just a lot of things that go into one play, and we as fans don't know what goes on in those meetings or what they're supposed to do. And sometimes you can practice something 100 times and do it right, and then 101 do it wrong, something that you've been doing right. So there's a lot of human involvement in it and a lot of human error that happens sometimes. You don't know why. Coach Robbins, my college coach, used to say there's always a reason why, son, and that's true. There's a reason why. You either get messed up, you're confused, or you didn't study hard enough, or you just had a blank moment in your mind, and we don't know. But there's a lot of things that go on in one play, one pass play, and I heard on the broadcast yesterday, they talked about Brian Callahan felt like they're close. Well, he knows better than all of us, but you have to have guys in situations, and with the right tackle being the way it is right now, you're going to have to figure some ways out to give him some more protection. And yesterday, I thought everything was kind of holding up till the latter part of the game, and then you're right, George. It feels like, I don't know if guys gave up, but they felt like they were in a situation where they had no chance to win, and you start losing focus, you start being lackadaisical, and I feel like that's kind of what happened towards the end of the game.
Okay. I'm going to assume right now this is not a great time in Will Levis's life. He goes home, he turns on the TV, and the ESPN guys are making jokes about him. He knows the whole city is analyzing every last thing that he does, me included. When he makes the the dumb mistakes, like he did in the first and second game, he really came in for a lot of criticism. Is there a scenario where Brian Callahan ought to consider giving him a week or two break from all this to just sit back and watch a veteran like Mason Rudolph, who is likely not to be real flashy, but also not make a lot of mistakes? Would it benefit Will Levis to have that happen for a couple of weeks?
I don't think so, George. And here's the reason I don't think so, because if Mason Rudolph comes in and plays well and they win 2 games or 3 games that he's playing and he looks really good at doing it, then you've got a whole nother issue now. Now you put him back in and the same kind of stuff starts happening. That just opens up a can of worms. So I think if he's your guy, I told the coach one time, we were losing to the Patriots 49-14, and it was snowing and it was cold, and this guy was supposed to be their franchise guy, and the coach came up to me with 6 minutes left to go in the game, and they told me, get ready. And I said, get ready for what? And he goes, you're going in the game. And I said, yeah, no, I'm not going in the game. I was 13 years into it now, or 12 years into it. So I had a mouth on me. My first couple of years, Tom Moore used to tell me there's a lot to be said, son, about just shutting your mouth and playing ball. You can stay in this league a long time. And you know what? He was right, because at that point, I was already 12 years. I'm cold on the sideline. We're losing 49-14 to Tom Brady and Randy Moss and the Patriots. We're not going to win the game. And I told the guy, I said, hey, tell the head coach to come to me. And if this is supposed to be y'all's franchise quarterback, he got himself into this mess. Get himself out of it. Now, was that probably the best thing for me to do? No, it probably wasn't. But that's what I said, because why am I going into the game? We're 6 minutes left to go in the game. We're not going to we're not going to win the game. What are you trying to prove right now? So that's kind of what I think with, if you put Mason Rudolph in the game right now, I just don't think that's a good idea.
It's a good point that you've raised. By the way, Billy, the words he used to that coach were "relax, Francis."
I can see that.
Yeah, I've said a lot of things, Billy. And another thing, while we're talking to you, a rivalry means you have to win a game once in 27 years. Don't say
That's
that
fair.
Don't say that
Fair
Father
point.
Ryan and NBA is a big rivalry, Hoss.
That's a fair point.
Ooh, walked into that one, didn't we?
Hey, it's back now though.
No, I'm sure it is. So do you believe this is going to get better this year?
I don't know, George. I really don't. I don't know that. I know that in the NFL, it's hard to keep guys motivated. You would always say, I can remember sitting in the MTSU locker room before practice one day, and we were like, man, if you're making all this money in the pros, I don't care. I'd go out to practice every day. Well, and that's not true because we're human beings. And when you start losing it's hard to get off that schneid and it's hard to get a win. When things start going downhill, it's hard to get guys motivated. I can remember, I told y'all about the time when I was in Indianapolis and Lindy and Fondy, we were 0-10. And he would come in every week trying to motivate guys. It's hard to do that. And then our first win was against the defending Super Bowl champions, the Green Bay Packers. We were 0-10. They had won the Super Bowl the year before, and we trounced them in Indianapolis. But it's hard to keep guys motivated when they know that offensively we're not where we need to be. We're going to keep fighting, but it's hard to keep guys focused, George, when you keep losing and you keep making critical errors at critical times in the game.
Okay, give me a 60-second or less answer to this. When does Rand Carthon call Brian Callahan in and say, hey, long term, are you confident in Will Levis? When does that conversation happen?
I'm not sure when it happens. It's probably going to happen in the next, if he's not making any progress and he doesn't stop turning the ball over, George. That's the main thing in pro sports. You cannot turn, especially in the NFL. You cannot turn the ball over. Even the fumble that he had, you can't fumble the football in that situation. Now, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes they make a great play, but if you keep turning the ball over, you're just giving the other team field position and you're giving them a chance to stay in the game or to win the game. And that's the biggest thing that I have right now, the issue that I have now. The 15 sacks, that's a tough deal, but I don't know when that's going to happen, George. I think you've got to give it a year, but it depends on how he plays, and it depends on if they can fix that right tackle situation. If they can fix that and try to come up with some creative ways to fix that, I don't know, but it's probably going to happen. If 8 or 9 games into this thing and he's still turning the ball over and making the same mistakes, then you got to ask the question.
Okay, we'll go to the break. And Kelly, stat of the day, we need improvement. While you were gone Friday, I knocked it dead cold. Just for the record.
Did you?
I did. And I wanted you to know that.
What was it? What was the?
I don't remember.
Billy, he's young. He remembers. He doesn't have dementia like we do.
I'll have to go back and check.
Well, let me see if I can remember that we go to a break right about now. How about that? Stay tuned. Stat of the day is next on the George Plaster Show.
Good afternoon. They're still working with a couple of accidents that happened out here a little bit earlier. It's still a bit heavy as you drive by an earlier crash. Hopefully you'll have this cleared. 40 westbound at 46th Avenue out on the west side. Traffic's really cranking up down up into Madison on 65 northbound as you continue on up into Goodlettsville. Heavy but moving 24 out through Antioch towards Murfreesboro. Princess Hot Chicken has 2 items on the menu. Check them out right now. Order online. PrincessHotChicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Hello, I'm Greg Figueroa. And I'm David Figueroa. Over 30 years ago, my brother Greg and I set out on a mission to offer the world a better hot sauce.
That's right, David. We made Melinda's thicker, hotter, and better than ordinary hot sauces.
And now we have 32 exciting and delicious sauces that hot sauce fans are obsessed with, like our ghost pepper sauce, our Thai sweet chili, and our best-selling black truffle hot sauce.
Melinda's also has 5 spicy ketchups made with real sugar and no added junk like high fructose corn syrup. People ask David and I, what makes Melinda so good? That's easy. We think like chefs do. Instead of burning someone with hot peppers and vinegar, we use fresh plant-based ingredients and the finest chili peppers perfectly blended to set your mouth on flavor.
Go to melindas.com to find our line of craft condiments at Walmart and other fine retailers. And right now, get 20% off our award-winning sauces with code SPORTS at melindas.com. That's melindas.com. melindas.com.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you need to contact Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you are a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. Check them out today at pancoastbenefits.com or call 615-292-3400.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. While leaning over the fence, your neighbor said you could save money bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. Your neighbor leaned over a little too much and broke your fence. Dumb news. Somehow fence wood is more expensive than wood. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and to plant really tall shrubs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
It's the NFL on Sports USA, and we're in Los Angeles as the San Francisco 49ers head down south to butt heads with the Rams. The Niners have a pretty good offense with talent like Kittle and Debo. Stafford and the Rams can beat you with Kyron Williams in the backfield or outside with Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp walks into the end zone.
It's the Niners at the Rams, next Sunday on Sports USA.
Coverage begins at 3 p.m. live on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Wrapping up this first hour with Stat of the Day, brought to you by Adam Whitehead Plumbing here in Nashville. We're going to talk a little college football coming up, but first, Stat of the Day, see if George and Kelly can keep it rolling. Call Adam, 615-485-1534. Again, that's 615-485-1534. All right, here's what we got today. Malik Neighbors has 23 catches through his first 3 games in the NFL. Which receiver had the most receptions in the first 3 games of his rookie season?
Oh, gosh.
Gracious. Is it a well-known name, Billy?
Yeah, fairly well known.
Fairly recent or long ago?
We're talking Crazy Legs Hirsch, are we?
No, we're not.
Okay.
I don't even know who that is, but it's very recent, and I mean he's pretty well known.
You wouldn't go know who that is, George. Look it up, Billy. Google
He didn't know who Jerry Rice was.
All right.
That may be the
By the way,
answer. I don't know.
What's the definition of a rivalry?
You've
All
got
right,
to win
George.
some games.
George,
I mean,
you're
in a
just-
rivalry, it has to be kind of a back and forth deal, not 1 out of 27. That's not a rivalry.
George, how you gonna do any more coattailing of Kelly here? I mean,
Oh, I love it. I love it. And this is a great stall for the fact that I haven't got a clue.
I haven't either.
Kelly,
You
could it
guys
be?
suck.
Oh, you just lighten up. Kelly, fire as well.
I mean, this, like these, good gracious, there's a lot of great players that play. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Marvin Harrison, OBJ,
Okay, OBJ
Jerry
was,
Rice.
hold on. OBJ was one I thought of. Jamar Chase was another one.
Oh, Jamar Chase is a good one, George. That's a
Yeah.
really good one.
Billy, reveal.
Puka Nacua.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You know
He's
what?
hurt now, though. He got hurt in the
Yeah.
first game, I think.
But if you look back at that his
yes,
first year,
he killed it.
mm-hmm.
Killed it. And he's one of those guys that got drafted late. He's one of those guys that get you yak yards. You catch it, and you don't know why, but guys can't tackle the guy.
In fairness, we should have done better. Now, that's not none of these are easy questions. A 2-game winning streak is a miracle in this competition. Whew. Okay, when we come back for the 5 o'clock hour or 5 o'clock hour, a lot to talk about. Tennessee with a huge win at Oklahoma in a game that honestly they dominated more than the final score would indicate. We'll talk about Vandy's near miss at Missouri. What does it mean long term? We got a lot coming. And all of a sudden, Billy, I'm not hearing the music. Should I be?
Me neither, actually.
Okay.
So.
Well, let's just say that we're coming back shortly.
On air and online, Sports Radio WNSR, Brentwood, Nashville.
ABC News, I'm Daria Aldinger. No bail for Ryan Ruth. The suspect in the second assassination attempt on former President Trump was in court today for a more than 3-hour-long hearing where new evidence was presented.
A letter in a box said to have been dropped off at a witness's house several months ago reads, "Dear world, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you." It's the strongest evidence yet of a motive, as federal prosecutors aim to build a case of attempted assassination against Ryan Ruth. Prosecutors say cell phone data shows Ruth was near Mar-a-Lago and Trump's West Palm Beach Golf Club multiple times in the weeks leading to his arrest.
ABC Stephen Portnoy. Almost 500 people are dead and more than 1,000 are injured as the IDF pounds Hezbollah targets in Lebanon with airstrikes. Hezbollah vowing to continue launching rockets into Israel until there is a ceasefire in Gaza. President Biden addresses the UN General Assembly tomorrow. This is ABC News.
In all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Meet Brian. He just got $5,000, and it was pretty easy. I'll tell you how in 10 seconds. Brian needed cash help. After being rejected by banks, he tried 27cash.com. Told them how much he needed, even let them know he had bad credit. In minutes, 27cash.com found a lender who deposited $5,000 into his bank account the very next day. If you need cash help, even if you have bad credit, go to 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We need cash help.
We should go to 57cash.com.
With our bad credit?
57cash.com helps all credit types. They partner with over 100 lenders to help even people with bad credit get approved for up to $10,000. And cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
Wow. When you need cash help, go to 57cash.com. 57cash.com.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now to learn more.
800-649-0142. 800-649-0142. 800-649-0142. That's 800-649-0142.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex. Welcome back to the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with Young Gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
And we welcome all of you into the 5 o'clock hour, which is going to be very college football centric. This is just one person's opinion right now, and that's mine. And remember, when I say this, it is at this moment. At this moment, the University of Tennessee, to me, feels like the second best team in college football. University of Texas feels like they're the best team right now. And I know Tennessee's not ranked in that position. I think they were 5th, Billy, when you released the poll earlier today. But guys, there's a team speed defensively that is downright scary. Are you guys seeing that?
I am seeing that. I told Tony a couple of weeks ago, remember, the team speed that they've got is unbelievable. And I watched a video of one of Josh Heupel's press conferences talking about how he's going to get people. They said this on the broadcast the other night. He's going to get people to play offense because of the offense that he runs. But he has emphasized that we want to be on lead on defense. He brought up Reggie White, Eric Berry, Al Wilson, those guys. And man, those guys can do their defensive line. You can't run the ball on them. They're pretty tough, and they can get pressure, and there's a lot of them. They can just bring waves and waves of 4 different guys in, and they can keep those guys fresh. I'm really impressed with what UT's doing. I don't know if they're the second best team in the country, but you may be right, George, because I love, and I know we'll get into it, but I love what Josh Heupel did the other night, because I don't think the Oklahoma Sooners had a good game plan defensively against them, but I was really impressed how patient he was as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, this is as good of a time to be a Tennessee fan as ever. I mean, Nico, people are calling him the best quarterback there since Peyton Manning, and could be the best defense they've had since that national championship year as well. And the final score was deceiving. I mean, 25-15. That was a 10-point win for Tennessee, but it wasn't a 10-point game. I mean, they throttled Oklahoma. They just absolutely swallowed them. And Oklahoma had chances. The defense had to give them chances. They did, but they turned the ball over right after both those turnovers that were caused. So I thought a lot of this was Oklahoma kind of kicking itself, but at the same time, Tennessee won in a different way. They've won before, really. I mean, we saw a lot of conservative play there in the second half. Tennessee was just running the football, and they didn't, a lot of people had said, hey, if Josh Heupel gets the chance to step his foot on the throttle, he will. Well, he really didn't. And we haven't seen that from Josh Heupel. But you talk about the speed, George. They've got, double-digit guys, up to 12 pass rushers that they can rotate in. And, it's not even like we were talking about James Pierce much after the Oklahoma game. That Jenkins guy, Jason Jenkins, was really the player to talk about there on the edge. And there's, it's just how many guys, who's going to step up, who's going to play well, on the line this game each week, I feel like. And that's a tough play. That's a tough team to play against when that defense just swallows you up.
So is it nitpicking at all as we look at Nico? Because there's not a whole lot negative to say right now about them. But, Kelly, does his ball security have to get better?
Yeah, he's got to work on that. He really does, because that was really the only downside to that game. But when I talk about being patient, everybody thinks, and we talked to Tony about this, but everybody thinks Josh Heupel is a throw it all over the place and not run the football. But if you look at his offense, he's pretty balanced. And the other night, when I talk about, I don't think Oklahoma had the right game plan, everybody's scared to death of their passing game, but they had 5 guys in the box against 7 guys, and they were trying to force things they had more DBs on the field than they had anything. So they were trying to force things, and when you got DBs trying to tackle and make tackles like that, you might hold up for a little bit, but eventually it's going to break down. And I thought Josh Heupel did a really good job of being patient. I mean, there were a couple of times where he was 3rd and 6 and he ran the ball. Because it's a great thing when you're a quarterback and when you're a head coach, you know that their offense is anemic. They're not going to score on your defense. Offensively, if we just don't turn the ball over and give them anything cheap, we're going to win the game. And that's where I thought that he was really patient in the game. He knew that. He knew they were not as good. Their offense is awful. The Jackson Arnold, the Jackson Arnold kid, he was out of his element the other night. His eyes were big. I thought the freshman that came in was a lot better. He's a lot better suited for that, but he's still a freshman. But their offense was awful, and we kind of knew that. Their defense is kind of elite, but like we talk about the Titans, when you've got an offense that is that bad defensively, it starts sitting in your mind to know, hey, we can't give up anything or we're not going to win the SEC. We're not going to win any games. So I just thought the other night that when they got 5 in the box, there were some times where they had the tight end off the line of scrimmage and they had a back. So you got 7 guys in there and you got 5 dudes in the box and you're trying to force with the 2 outside guys. I'm going to call a run play every time because we're going to gash you. And you give the ball to Dylan Sampson, who's really good, and the Bishop kid, who's a freshman, is pretty good as well. Just keep eating up clock. Just keep pounding the ball. We don't have to do anything special tonight because their offense can't score. That's a great place to be if you're a starting quarterback, and a really good place to be if you're a head coach, to know that it doesn't matter what they do. They can't beat us. All we have to do is not help them beat us.
Man, and there were some big opportunities early for that Oklahoma offense, but Arnold fumbles at the 5-yard line right after one of those turnovers, and then that early interception was maybe the worst interception I've seen this year. And at that point, you're Josh Heupel. Okay, this offense is going to be anemic, like you said, Kel. We're going to run the football, and then we might pop you. We might pop you with a play action and kick field goals, and you'll win the game. I mean. And I don't know, and I've heard a lot of this, I don't know that Heupel does this last year. He doesn't have the team. He doesn't have the defense. So it's easy when you've got the 85 Bears front 7. But last year and the year before, Josh Heupel maybe doesn't play that way. I think Tony probably will get into that, just how he's changed and matured as a head coach. It was also cool after the game. I don't know if y'all saw his post-game speech. This meant a lot to him. He spoke all week that it didn't. But, told the guys he loves them in the locker room, and they said they love. I mean, that's what it's all about. And you don't get opportunities like that. So happy for Heupel to be able to go back and kind of get things full circle.
Yeah, y'all don't understand, George. Y'all don't understand how hard that is sometimes for a coach too. When he's an offensive play caller, and when you get egos involved, a lot of times guys want to be the reason that we win. And it doesn't matter. I want to showcase my offense, but like the other night, like he wasn't worried about throwing the ball because he knew that Oklahoma couldn't score with him. So if they got into that, I'm sure he would have thrown the ball around a little bit more. But he did what he had to do, and you don't find young guys at his age that can do that and can be disciplined enough to do that. And I was really impressed with that.
Tennessee's October goes like this. As Billy mentioned earlier, both they and Vandy have open dates this Saturday. Tennessee goes to Arkansas in Fayetteville Saturday, October 5th.
Which won't be
12th,
cakewalk.
On the 12th, they'll host Florida, and that will be a cakewalk. God, I never thought I would say that. And they play Alabama in Knoxville on October the 19th, and then they have their second open date. Now, let me give you 3 schools out there that absolutely would die to have Diego Pavia as their quarterback. Auburn. Yes.
Correct.
Oklahoma.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. And I'm having a senior moment.
Kentucky.
Florida State.
Oh, Florida State. Okay.
There's a lot.
Florida.
I mean, there's a lot. And there's a lot of quarterback problems around the country, too, if you think about it.
Oh,
yeah.
I told George this morning, I was talking to my son when he was home. I just cannot believe the anemic play of quarterbacks in Division I right now. There's some of them that are really bad. Like the Auburn-Arkansas game, the 2 kids that started are young guys, They both got taken out of the game. They're not ready. And then the Taylor Green kid came back in for Arkansas. But, like, all these guys want to run around, George. I'm going to be honest with you now. I understand it's a new age of football, but at some point you got to learn to play the position. And when you get these – I had a guy tell me when I was trying to get my son somewhere that your son is a true quarterback, but you can't get a lot of D1 coaches that want true quarterbacks. They want them to get them – they want an athletic guy to get them out of bad plays or bad play call and to do something special with running the football. But you're going to get hurt eventually if you keep running the football like they do. And, like, it's one read and these kids take off. They get somebody in their face, they take off. Like, learn how to play the position. It's so annoying to me right now.
Well, the front, we talked about it, Kelly. I think the fronts are getting better and more athletic, and no one wants to play offensive line. I've heard a lot of I've heard a lot of that in the last 5-6 years. Nobody's wants to play offensive line. They're telling that offensive lineman in high school to go lose some weight and play on the edge or play on the interior so you can get after the quarterback. And there's still some good offensive linemen, trust me, but I think that's a little bit of it. But the pocket pass, think about how many pure pocket passers are there. Just run through the SEC,
Can't find them.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe Carson Beck.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all answer me this. We know now that Vandy just scared the you-know-what out of Missouri. Took them to double overtime, kind of shanked a field goal that ended up giving Missouri the 30-27 win. And it's a nice, I used to hear this thing about there are no moral victories. Well, there probably are. And unfortunately, this is a program that at times that matters somewhat. Is this propelling them to something better, or was this a blip in the radar, moment in the sun?
I don't think this is a blip in the radar. Georgia State, I think, was the outlier because the other 3 games they've played, Virginia Tech, they beat in overtime at home, Alcorn State 55-0, and then you go on the road against Missouri, who knows whether they're a top 10 team or not. But you played the number 7 ranked team in the country on the road, and you were a play away from beating them in overtime. And so I think at what point are we going to give Clark Lee some credit for putting this team together this year and looking miles better than last year? I know they didn't win, and I know even Clark said it. He don't want to talk about this moral victory. They're 2-2. Yeah, maybe they could be 4-0, but they could also be 1-3. Clark always talks about the margins are so small. I think it's encouraging. And again, the schedule is brutal. You got Alabama in a couple weeks. You got to play Texas. You got to play LSU, Tennessee. But I think you've got 3 winnable SEC games. You got to win them all. That's the hard part. But I think they've got a shot this year.
Billy.
George, I think it catapults them. I really do. I think it catapults them into something special. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but like you look at if they play Florida, you look at Kentucky. Those are teams. I know Kentucky. I know they play Kentucky, but I think that you just battle with a top 10 team, and you had a chance to beat them. You take away every experience, and those are one of the experiences. You've already had an overtime game with Virginia Tech. Now you've taken one of the top 10 teams in the country to double overtime. You can't get all crazy in that aspect of the game and that experience. That's the first time you've been there in a while with a top 10 team. Now you got to get over the top, and I think this will help them. I really do.
Okay. Here's one thing I see out of this. As small as that base may be, a lot of Vandy's fan base mentally kind of pitched it in a week ago when they weren't ready to play at Georgia State. And while they're not saying a lot publicly, it was sort of aimed at Clark. It's your job to have them ready, and you didn't have them ready for a very winnable game. Now a game that on the surface didn't feel winnable, you take to the absolute wire. Nobody saw that coming. It certainly helps some street cred. What I guess I'm getting at is it going to lead to more wins? Because on the surface, this feels like a ton of this is Diego Pavia, that he elevates them past what they are. And the other worry is, what if he gets hurt? The kid's tough as nails, but my God, he is taking some shots.
Yeah, that's the biggest worry with this team, him staying healthy. If he's not out there, they don't have a shot to beat, I don't think, any SEC team. But you look at compare them, the quarterbacks with their 3 SEC win chances. Brock Vandagriff at Kentucky. So I'd take Pavia over him. I don't know if Lenore Sellers will be back when they play South Carolina, but if it's Robbie Ashford, definitely Diego Pavia. And then you look at Auburn, it's one of the worst quarterback situations in the country. And then, they do play LSU on the road. They just lost Harold Perkins. I don't think they beat LSU on the road, but I didn't think they'd come close against Missouri. So those 3 games, if Pavia plays at his best, they've got a chance to win. And the defense made some stops, enough stops in the Missouri game. They weren't good to be, particularly. But Kelly, if Pavia plays, he's healthy, he gives them a shot. And that's all you can say. Stowers at tight end is another really good option, but you just don't know. You don't know what you're going to get from them offensively. I mean, they're going to be annoying to prepare for, but for any SEC team.
Yeah, I'm with you though. Diego Pavia gives those guys the ultimate, and that is belief. They believe in him, and they believe that he can do a lot of good things. And if we can just keep it close, he's going to make a play for us at some point. And I think it really catapults him. I really do. I don't know if that translates into wins. I'm not sure about that, but I think you got a fighter as your quarterback, and I think it makes the teams fighters. And I just think it's going to help them in the long run. I don't know if it's going to, like I said, account for any wins, but I think it's going to help.
Okay, we'll go to the break on that. And when we come back, we're now 4 weeks for the most part into the college football season. And to me, we had some dramatic things happen over the weekend that sort of pencil in some teams and lump them into somewhere that's good, and then some others that you lump in and go, not so good. I'll explain more when we come back. You're listening to The George Plaster Show.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday. We used to do a segment on the show called Studs and Duds. I kind of changed it for this week on the college football front. Some teams whose stock is on the rise, and then some schools who suddenly their stock is going down a little bit. So let's take a look at these two lists. On the upside, Illinois went to Nebraska. I didn't think they could do that and win. They're now 4-0, and Kelly, they go to Penn State this week. And if by chance they pull off this upset, will you hear the yelling up in Happy Valley about James Franklin?
Yeah, I agree. Brett Bielema was obviously doing his thing in Champaign, because I would not have thought what they did the other day. I'm with you. And to be 4-0, that's pretty good from where they've been to where they're going.
So Michigan, it feels like, guys, saved their season Saturday and lined up and just ran the football down USC's throat, which then begs to ask the question, okay, how much improved is USC's defense? It is to a certain point, but Billy, they knew exactly what was coming and couldn't stop it.
No, their defense hasn't improved maybe as much as we thought. Now, I mean, they were in that game. It was close, but that last drive was just clinical. I mean, Michigan just pounded it play after play after play. And for Michigan's quarterback to throw for 32 yards and beat you, if you're Lincoln Riley, you got to be sitting there saying, I couldn't beat that. Is in the big house. And so, yeah, the thing about USC, George, their schedule, I know this is about Michigan, but USC still has a shot in the Big Ten because they don't have to play Ohio State or Penn State. I mean, they just played Michigan. They don't have to play Ohio State or Penn State. So USC's still alive, but Michigan, that's a Sharon Moore culture win.
Billy, check that one out. I think Penn State goes out there.
Okay, maybe it was just Ohio State, but I know they don't play Ohio State.
I'll look it up here in just a second. Kelly, what is it about Utah under Kyle Whittingham? Mentally tough. Yeah. They go on the road without Cam Rising and win at Oklahoma State. And most importantly, it's my underdog pick.
Yeah, that is the most important, because I still suck right now. Good gracious, this has been, I've not, we'll go over that Thursday, but I have not had this kind of depressed feeling about silly underdogs ever. But Utah, you're right, George. He's got those guys mentally tough. Like Cam Rising, when's the guy going to play again? He's supposed to be kind of the glue, and he didn't play last year, and they still won games. I'm with you. I just, they're pretty good. I've said that they're going to win I thought they would win the Big 12. I thought it was between Kansas State, them, and Kansas. Kansas State and Kansas both got beat last weekend. So you got to give it to Utah. They just keep plugging. They just plug people in and keep winning games.
Billy, I looked it up. Penn State plays at USC on Saturday, October the 12th.
They don't play Ohio State. I know that. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. So the fourth team, Billy, is Mr. Kalani Sitake I don't know how many people saw it, but they took Kansas State behind the woodshed for an absolute Stormin' Mormon explosion.
38 point. I mean, where was K-State's defense and their offense? K-State looked awful. And this is supposed to be a top 15, top 20 team, maybe outside playoff contender. All of a sudden to look that bad, maybe BYU is a lot better than we thought, but I thought K-State with Avery Johnson and that offense could at least hang in there and maybe even get it done out there. But maybe this says more about BYU, George, and maybe we need to start taking them more seriously. But I mean, you look at their quarterback, Retzlaff, had 150 yards, a couple of touchdowns. It's not like they just, I think they ran it all over them if you look at the stats. But K-State had some mistakes that really cost them, and so BYU takes advantage. And Kelly, you're right. Who would have thought K-State and Oklahoma State would both be 0-1 to start Big 12 play?
Seriously, but let me ask y'all this, and let me ask you this, George. Do you really trust BYU? Because they've done this before. They have a big game, and then the next week they get beat by Tennessee Tech. It's like, do you really trust what they're doing right now?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's a nice September story.
Yep.
And, the first time a September team gets to January, then we'll have something.
Yeah, Kalani Sataki's good for a big win like this every year, I feel like, but can't ever keep it going.
They were down 6-0 in that game and went berserk in the final 5 minutes of the first half, kept it going through the middle of the third quarter and scored like 38 unanswered to just steamroll. Now, the last one people better pay attention to because, and I'm right there with a bunch of you, we wrote off Clemson when they couldn't make a first down against Georgia. Their offense was horrible. It appears that Dabo Swinney has gone back to the drawing board, Kelly, and given the offense to Garrett Riley, Lincoln's brother, and now all of a sudden their offense looks way different.
It does, and I think the Klubnik kid's playing a lot better too. I think he is, but if you line up against Georgia again, are you going to see the same old Clemson, or is it different? So I don't know that, but they are playing good right now, and I think they got a shot for the ACC. I think it's going to probably be between them and Miami, don't y'all think?
Yeah, and therein lies the deal. Either Clemson or Miami, it would appear, is going to get a first-round bye in the playoffs.
Yep, correct. And that's going to be, I think, a heck of a game. It's in Miami, but looking at Clemson, I mean, they have dominated their last couple opponents. In Appalachian State and NC State, those aren't, it's not like those are teams that are just dog water. I mean, they're
now hold on.
NC State maybe, but
hold on. App State, what did you call it? Dog water?
That's a newer term. Maybe.
I'll skip that one. App State got beat by South Alabama.
Yeah, that's
what was it, like 41-7? Oh, what in the world?
Like that.
So maybe rebuke that. Maybe they do suck. But
I've always said South Alabama, they're a football school.
They're a rivalry. They're a rivalry because they've won 1 out of 27, George.
Yeah, save it.
Oh, wow.
Let's just talk about that.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest rivalries in the state.
Hey, you go back historically, they used to beat NBA. So do your research, Hoss.
Billy, let me ask you this. Do you regret saying that?
No, I was talking about the history of the rivalry. You go back out. It's the oldest rivalry in the state. So go look it up.
Are we talking about when Calvin Coolidge was president? Okay.
Hey, one more thing on Clemson. Phil Maffa, George. He's one of the better backs in the country. So keep an eye on him for I'm not saying Heisman, but he is one of the better backs in the country, and he's carried Clemson.
Let's go now to the group that sort of bit the dust over the weekend. So let's start with Auburn, where Hugh Freeze's former quarterback, Bo Wallace, remember they were at Ole Miss together, and old Bo put out a scathing tweet basically saying, when does this guy ever take responsibility? because he's always saying, well, the quarterback's got to do this, and their quarterbacks suck right now. Let's be honest. They got big quarterback issues. But what about Bo Wallace teeing off on Freeze?
Yeah, he said we're approaching the point that he's thrown so many quarterbacks under the bus that maybe no one wants to play for him. His offense helped me tremendously put numbers up when I blew my shoulder out, but why is it someone else's fault every time there's a loss? Bo's got a lot of truth. I mean, it's never Hugh's fault. It's always, well, we need to find a quarterback that can throw it to our team. Well, this has big chance of exploding on Auburn and Hugh Freeze this year. The way
he recruited those guys, did he not? He brought Peyton Thorne in. Didn't he recruit the Brown kid too? I mean, those are his guys, right?
Right. But let me ask this question. Okay, he knew by the end of last year that Thorne was kind of a dud. There were some really good quarterbacks in the portal.
And he fell asleep.
Shouldn't Auburn have been able to get one?
He came out and said, I don't want to spend $1 million I'm not spending $1 million on a quarterback, and he put all of his faith into Peyton Thorne and talked up Hank Brown. To look at the 180 now, I mean, that's a mess. That's an absolute mess. He doesn't want to go buy a quarterback. Well, Hugh, that's what you have to do in today's era. You've got to buy a legit quarterback, or else you don't have a chance.
Guys, explain Virginia Tech to me. I mean, on their resume is a loss to Vandy and now a loss to Rutgers.
Ruptures,
son. They can't beat eggs, son, and they just beat us. We had him on too. I like him, but yeah, they're obviously not living up. And Mike Organ talked about how he thought that they had a chance to win the ACC this year, and I don't think that's happening. So they're definitely underplaying what they thought that they had. There's no question about that.
There was a play, Kyron Drones drops back in his own end zone, and he's getting brought down for what would be a safety, and he just flips the ball into the stands, through the uprights. I mean, Virginia Tech against Rutgers, I don't want to say awful, but I mean, to lose to Rutgers and Vanderbilt the way they did, they don't look, and I like Brent Pry. I think he's a good coach, but man, you return all that talent and all that.
Yeah, something's gone.
Yeah. And so I don't know.
Terribly wrong. By the way, when the quarterback throws it through the goalpost, is that like a rouge?
Go back, go watch the highlights of that. It's crazy.
We were in a game. We were in a game in Indianapolis one time where it got down, and Bill Parcells was the coach at the I think it was the Jets, and all they had to do was do that, and Vinny Testaverde took it from about the 20-yard line and threw it straight through the goalpost, and it was a safety. That was great.
That's lovely. So the other two that I put in there, Memphis had an opportunity to completely go to the head of the class of Group of Five, and they have yet to play a lick of defense against Navy. And I realize that Navy presents the problem that you only have a week to prepare when nobody else in college football runs that offense other than Army and Air Force and Marines if they had a team. But this is a real gut punch at Memphis.
Has Navy gotten considerably better? Because they've been bad for about 3 or 4 years now. Have they got a lot better? Because you're right, George. I mean, that takes a lot to get ready for, because when you have to create assignments for guys. You've got to take the back, you got to take the quarterback, you got to take the back. And if you don't do that, that's what happens. You have big plays. But have they gotten considerably better since the last 3 or 4 years?
Maybe they have, Kelly, but this feels like a Memphis team that was not ready to play. And it's weird because you look back at the games, their defense played well. Now it's North Alabama, Troy, and Florida State, but they never even got close to giving up 60 points to either of those teams. I mean, Navy put up almost 600 yards of offense. And so I don't know that this is a sign that Memphis is awful. Maybe it's one of those weeks, George. I don't know how you feel. Maybe it's one of those weeks you just chalk it up and say we weren't prepared.
I think George is right. I think George is right, though. They had a chance to become the group of 5 leader in the clubhouse, and they just, they laid an egg.
So does that now make Boise the leader in the group of 5 clubhouse?
You have to think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, a lot of people are still keeping an eye on Northern Illinois, and they've got a game at NC State this week. That'll be big for them.
Yeah, but didn't they get beat by Buffalo?
Yes, they did.
Josh Allen.
You're right.
Josh
You're right,
Allen.
George.
Yeah, threw 5 touchdown passes, and Buffalo beat him.
You're right.
They
I
did
forgot
get beat
about
by
that.
Buffalo. Yep.
Yeah.
Never mind on that. Yeah, it's probably Boise at this point.
Boise, by the way, late night Saturday plays Washington State. And then there is P.J. Fleck and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And they're all hyped up. They're all hyped up Saturday night. They're leading Iowa at the half, and they got, and notice the term I'm going to use, boat raced. You can take that rowing the boat and shove it. Minnesota's still what they have been. They can't do a drop on offense.
That's just a hard sell, though, George. You watch that thing with P.J. Fleck, and I think he's a pretty good coach. But you're at Minnesota. They've got new facilities and everything. But, if it's me being from Tennessee or from up there, where are you going? If you're in the Big Ten, if you got a chance to go anywhere you want to, you're going to go to Ohio State. You're going to go to Michigan. Maybe you go to Iowa. Maybe you go to Penn State. But, who's going to Minnesota? That's my whole deal.
Minnesotans.
Well, I get it, but are there any players up in Minnesota?
I don't know. That most of them are frozen.
A good indicator, they got their quarterback from New Hampshire, which is that D3. So, they struggle to find offensive talent, to say the least.
I think that was an understatement. Okay, so those are some teams whose stuff has either risen dramatically recently or in the last week gone.
We need to revisit that next week because some of those ones that stock are up, their stock will be down next week.
Yeah, you're probably right. We'll go to the break, and then we'll open up the phones if you want for a segment and take it wherever you want to go. I would really like to hear from some of you on your level of disappointment about the Titans. 615-844-5600. That is our number. Again, 615-844-5600. This is the George Plaster Show.
Starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
Traditionally dictated to the customer when it's time to do business. Whether you're purchasing class pictures in a yearbook, class jewelry, a letter jacket, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience quick, convenient, and efficient. Find out more at jhacompany.com. JHA, your one source for an unparalleled scholastic experience.
We'll go to the phones here in just a second, but we have breaking news. Here's Rivalry Billy.
Real quick, Utah State, according to Pete Thamel, is expected to take its offer from the Pac-12. The confirmation of accepting the offer is expected soon.
I would think that Utah State would have crawled to be in that conference.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. Okay, Tony in Nolensville, get us started.
Hello, George. And hello, guys. Kelly. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 quick minutes, and that's going to be it, and let y'all talk about it. First of all, on the college front, the Vanderbilt, once again, George, we've done this for years. Vanderbilt could easily be 4-0. We've talked about this so many times through the years. You've experienced it, I have. But here we said 2-2. They're going to end up either 3-9 or 4-8, and then everybody's going to talk about what if, what could have been, and it's so sad that same record is being played with a new version of it this year, and it just rips everybody's black and gold hearts out that year in and year out, they could, the what ifs and the could be's. That's on the Vanderbilt front. And on also, you were talking about the BYU, watching them the other night. They had the most unbelievable punt return for a touchdown that I've seen in my lifetime.
Saw it. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that part of it, George.
I did.
It was unbelievable. The guy went from one sideline to the other sideline after taking the ball at the 22 and retrieving all the way back because he thought he fumbled it or it hit his hand. And Kelly, he retrieved back to the 2-yard line and went all the way back up the opposite sideline for 98 yards for a touchdown. It was crazy.
And
it was really crazy.
He looked dead by the time he got to the end zone.
On the Titans front, all this, what we watched yesterday, 8 sacks, the line being exposed. Let's not forget, and I really harped about this last year, and I'm still harping about it. Last year, or 2 years ago now, if you want to say, drafted Skoronski, who's a left tackle at Northwestern, moved him to left guard. This past year, draft Latham, a right tackle at Alabama, moved him to left tackle. What happened yesterday? you've got a junior high right tackle. Kelly, you touched on it. They don't have one at all. And then you've got they went out and got Quisenberry as a center. So you got him and a right guard that's just totally overmatched yesterday, and we give up 8 sacks. The line issues seem to keep showing up in the Titans. We've been talking about this, guys, for 4 and 5 years now. It's unbelievable. Same story. George, I'm going to let y'all comment on some of that, and I'm going to hang up. Now, listen, thanks, buddy.
It's good stuff. Kelly, give me a quick kind of overview of moving from guard to tackle, vice versa. How hard is it? Because a lot of people are like, what's the difference? It's offensive line, one position, but it's not.
Yeah, it's different, man. It's totally different because you're manned up out there. You don't have the guys inside that can kind of bring guys to you. So it's easier for guards and centers. But when you're out there by yourself as a tackle, you got to be pretty good. That's why those guys get paid a lot of money. I said it earlier in the show. Right tackle don't get as paid as much as left tackle, but the right tackle is still important because these edge rushers nowadays are so quick. And when you can make one move like they did on the Petit Frere guy yesterday multiple times, and they go right inside. I told it the other day when we were talking about Julius Chestnut, I saw where he got fired on the punt team, so they fired him. He's out. But the quickest way to a quarterback is to the inside, so don't let him go inside. And Petit Frere, he constantly did that yesterday. So it's just you're on an island out there by yourself, George, and you're with all these guys, these defensive ends that are getting paid all this money because they can rush the passer. They can use speed to go around you. They can bull rush you. There's so many games that they can play, and if you're not good there, you're going to struggle throwing the football.
Eric in Nashville, welcome.
Hey, George. Before I get to the Titans and everything, just one thing I wanted to say. I heard where somebody leaked Will Levis's phone number last week. Come on, guys. I mean, stuff like that is so stupid. We had to change his number because he was getting harassed and just horrible phone calls. I mean, that stuff like that just does not need to happen. Hope I don't hear nothing like that this week, not only for him, but any other player, any other coaches. And I'm also hoping that you don't hear stories where fans find out where coaches or players live and show up their house, because I heard that happen after the NFC Championship game with Detroit. Guys, it's just football. Don't be doing stuff like that. I love football as much as anybody, but I'm not going to harass somebody or show up at their house because I'm not happy with the way my team's playing. I mean, so let's take a chill pill on that.
Well
okay,
said.
as far as the game, yeah. Guys, as far as the game goes yesterday, guys, I tell you what, you have got to give just Matt LaFleur credit for the way he coached yesterday. The fact that he was able to just, run the offense the way he did, just how effective Malik Willis looked. Also, the way what they did to Titans defense, but that shocked me. The fact that there were several times the Titans players missing tackles, or either they had the arms around players were breaking tackles, where they had the chance to get them either for losses or short minimal game, or break for big yardage. That was just pathetic yesterday. And I wonder if people say, and I know you hear a lot of that, we should have kept Malik Willis. Well, guys, but the way the fact the offensive line is playing, the fact that I know, George, you've mentioned in the past about the way we've coached Malik Willis from the previous coaching staff and stuff like that. So I don't think Malik would have done that here. And in fact, the way he's playing now, he might have a shot to go to the NFL team because the Packers, I think, are sticking with Jordan Love. But I was surprised and real happy for him. So it's frustrating, but, it is what it is. And, George, one last thing, and then I'll get off. Of course, I left when it was 27-7 after, I guess, the Jeffrey Simmons home call where the next pass was the screen pass, and then got the touchdown. But before that, we had the ball at the start of the third quarter. It was 4th and 1, and then, of course, Brian Callahan was going to punt the ball. But then the crowd booed. He called a timeout, took his players off the field, and then came back and went for it. Whatever the play call, I don't have a problem if you're going to go for it. But if you're going to do that, do it, not let the fans influence you. Because to me, you're coaching scared if you're doing that. I don't have a problem you're going to go for the 4th down, but you can't do that. You can't let fans influence you. And I know he said at the postgame, well, the fans didn't influence me, but give me a break. They did. You can't convince me otherwise. If you're going to go for it, go for it. But don't let fans boo and influence you whether or not you're going to go for a 4th down or whatever play you're going to do, because that really bothers me, George. and you're coaching scared when you're doing that, George. Just want to get your thoughts on that. Guys, y'all take care and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, Kelly, I mean, yeah, you can't, have a ballot in the crowd of, okay, we'll do the coaching poll.
It looks bad when you do that, just like Eric was talking about. That's a good point.
Now, my guess is that's not what happened.
Probably not.
But
he probably got the analytics guy up there talking to him and saying, "Hey, we should go for it here." But it doesn't look good when you're going to set up for a punt, and then you call a timeout, and then you're going to go for it. That doesn't look good as a coach.
Okay, we're going to make you some money, much as we did this weekend, Kelly. So stay tuned. Plaster bets of the day coming up next.
Good afternoon. There is a couple of accidents out here getting some attention. Right now, here's what we're seeing. Heavy traffic volume on 40 East at Fester's, headed on out into Donaldson, Hermitage, continuing out towards Wilson County. Still moving right now through Madison, just heavy at times on 65 going northbound as you continue on up into Robertson County, Sumner County. Traffic still looking good to the south on 65 into Brentwood. Hey, whether you need a new roof repair, roof inspection, independent roofing specialist, IRSroofs.com. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Rizumkizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Man, I loved playing high school sports growing up. And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong, but sitting in the stands feels like I'm missing out on all the action, you know? I wanted to get back in the game, so I signed up to be a high school official. It takes me back to my playing days. I'm supporting students, and I get paid to make the big calls. Do you want to see the game up close? Sign up to become an official in Tennessee at highschoolofficials.com.
It's football time in Tennessee, and there's no better place to catch all the big games than the Alley Pub, located at 7040 Highway 70 South in Bellevue. Whether you're cheering on the two-tone blue, the big orange, or the black and gold, we've got you covered. Come check out our 14 big-screen TVs and feed your appetite with our legendary food menu. We've got bucket specials all weekend long, and be sure to grab a seat early on Sundays for brunch and Bellevue's only Build Your Own Bloody Mary bar. Come kick off the new season at the Alley Pub, Bellevue's best sports bar.
It's the Bill King Show.
We are college football centric. That is the sun that warms our planet that we live on. Our planet actually isn't flat or round. It's an oblong spheroid. And we are here to proselytize about it, edify it every day on this here radio show.
Weekday mornings beginning at 6 on Sports Radio 560 on 95.9 FM.
Not one, but 2 NFL games tonight. Jags and Bills at 6:30. Commanders and Bengals at 7:15. Jaden Daniels' primetime debut. We'll see where George is going tonight with Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. But first, let's see what happened over the weekend. And George, how about that?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. I guess you'll call it 3 losses.
Yes. We had a lot of games, Kelly.
I see.
Probably the proudest of the Utah choice. Very lucky to win Colorado. Good Lord. What in the world was Baylor doing at the end of regulation? How do you get that ball through to score a touchdown? Colorado scored on a 40-yard pass play at the buzzer.
I don't know.
To send
that
it
was
to
unbelievable.
OT. It's bad. It's bad coaching.
That defensive play was called Victory Cigar from Baylor.
Whatever.
Yeah.
The Tennessee
Michigan.
one. Yeah, I like the Michigan play. You just knew that Michigan was going to treat this like, okay, our season is on the line.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to do that a little more with some of these games. So we got two tonight where the home team seems like the better team. Certainly in the second game, Cincinnati, I think, is considerably better than the Commanders or the Redskins or whatever the hell you want to call them. Buffalo right now feels like they've got their stuff together more than Jacksonville does. So I'm going to tease down both of the home favorites. The Bills down to a pick, the Bengals down to -1.5. And Kelly, tomorrow you'll thank me for it.
This is kind of a must-win for the Bengals right now. They're 0-2.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And you know what happens if they don't win? They join us in. They join the Titans in Titletown. Okay, Tony Basilio tomorrow. Enough said right there. See you then.